as of recent, you won your WNBF Pro card. Congrats on that again.
Thank you.
And why don't we start there? Let's start with like how that contest prep went. Give us like a season recap. Give us the whole thing, like how you felt about it.
Yeah, I reached out to Cliff Wilson. So I was coached for my first prep, 2014, basically because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing to a large extent. I've never stepped on stage. There was nowhere near the amount of resources as there are available now. Like there was no courses you could take to learn this or books about it. It was like there was Matt Ogus and
Yeah.
3DMJ doing bits and pieces, but there wasn't the wealth of information there is now. So having a coach who'd been there, done that was fantastic help in that first season. Kenny, can I say one thing just
Yeah, of
quickly?
course. Yeah,
Just on my Swiss Pro Show qualifier.
of
So,
course.
in terms of only winners going to WNBF Worlds, I don't know if you saw it, but Babacar was there. So I've competed on stage against
Oh,
Babacar.
wow. I didn't see
uh,
that. I missed that. I missed that one. So give us a
yeah.
recap. But how do you feel about the result? First of all, not the WNBF Netherlands, we know about that, but more so specifically WNBF Worlds.
Yeah. I'm gutted still. It's not a nice feeling to have because when I really zoom out and think about it, I'm so proud of myself for getting to Worlds as a pro because it's nothing I ever thought I'd be able to achieve. But actually, getting to Worlds as a pro isn't a huge achievement. The reason I say that is you don't have to do anything special to go to Worlds as a pro. You just have to get your pro card, compete as a pro. Doesn't matter where you place, you qualify for Worlds. So it's
Right.
not like you're a special pro at that point. You're a pro and you get to come if you competed as a pro. So getting the pro card was definitely like that's a huge achievement. Whereas going to Worlds, it's like it's a cool thing to have done, but it's not like an additional achievement in a sense to be able to go
Right.
there. And then the reason I feel a bit, I guess, down about it is just the placing wasn't amazing. And I'm a competitive person and I really had hopes to do better in that weight class. And there's just a few things that were outside of my control. And I mean, everyone's control to some extent that led to that probably being the case.
That was the middleweight, right?
I was actually a lightweight,
Oh,
so I can speak
snap.
to that.
Okay. Yeah, speak to that, please, because the last
Yeah.
time I believe there was a time you were competing as a middleweight, and I guess you got in so conditioned. So yeah, speak to that, please, for the listeners who may not know.
Yeah, so I'm definitely normally a middle, but for the WNBF World Pro classes, they didn't give you the weight ranges ahead of time. So we're
Oh.
kind of shooting blind. So I was speaking to Cliff because we were deciding on the peaking approach. We're like, shall we deplete and rapid backload? And that would allow you to come in really light and make maybe the lightweights, but be a heavy lightweight because I'm not meant to be a lightweight, basically. Uh, or do we want to do a progressive linear load or more of a, yeah, not deplete you as much because at this point we'd both agreed we probably pushed it too far in terms of like we're shooting for more condition. We got more, but we sacrificed quite a lot of fullness and muscularity for it. So
Yeah.
the juice wasn't worth the squeeze at that point. So we're like, I don't really want to deplete you from a visual aesthetic being your best perspective, but to compete at your best, it might be wise to come in as a heavy lightweight. So we depleted. And then in the end, I weighed in just over 160 pounds, which for
Wow.
me is
That's really,
really, really
really.
light. Yeah, it's
Hold on.
very light.
Hold on. For the listeners, and from what I remember, last time you competed, the season that we spoke about when. So, first off, for those who don't know, we spoke on the podcast, Steve and I, was back like in the first year. It was in the episode, I believe 30, around episode 30. So, if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. Tune into that. Great episode, and you'll get some more context around that season. But from what I remember, Steve, it was 170s you were competing, right?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I on
Okay.
stage at least my stage weight was between 170 to 175 in 2021. So I would say my like best stage look was at the Swiss show. Don't say
Okay.
that too quickly.
Yeah.
So that was my pro debut after it was a month after the Netherlands. That was like really good condition, like my best condition, along with heaps of fullness, and that was around 170s. I don't actually know because I didn't take my weighing scale
Wow.
to Switzerland, but that was around 170 pounds.
Okay.
So yeah, coming down to 160, I was like, I was
What
so flat.
happened
I'd
there?
never
Yeah, I
seen
was gonna
myself.
say, yeah, that was, do you think that, okay, looking back in hindsight, we both respect Cliff. Cliff is highly respected, but do you think that was a smart decision?
So it could have been,
Mm.
if the weight categories fell in our favor, but they didn't. So I
Ah.
easily made the lightweights basically because of they drew up the weight categories after the fact. If we'd known them ahead of time, we wouldn't have even bothered depleting. There was no point. I would have been a middleweight
Okay.
or a
And what
lightweight.
was
Sorry,
the
sorry, I would
what
have been
was
a
that
lightweight, but heavy.
lightweight? What was the lightweight cap?
I don't fully remember. I was like, of the morning of the show, I think I was around 167 pounds. And I think it actually went up to like, it was like the low 160s to the low 170s, I think was the range.
Whoa, for lightweight?
Yeah, for lightweight. They
Wow,
had two
that's new.
lightweights.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So I spoke to Dirk about this recently, and usually they
Yeah.
have a bantamweight, lightweight. What happened there? They just had two lightweight classes.
They just renamed the Bantams lightweight one and
Yeah, they
decided
liked
to call the
it.
lightweights lightweight two.
Okay, I see. And was it because there was a mix of like different weights, and they were just like, ah, this is this is too much to organize, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. From what I've heard, it's because people associate a certain weight with bantam. Like I
Okay.
don't know what bantam means, but apparently they people associate a certain weight with it. And because the weight classes weren't defined, they didn't want a weight associated with any of the named categories. So they're like, right, let's just call it lightweight one and two.
Okay.
So yeah, it kind of fell that way. So in the end, yeah, I was just in the middles of the lightweights in terms of body weight because after the rapid backload, I gained like 6, 7 pounds
Oh,
of one
wow.
day of refeeding.
And that was before the actual content, or like, how does
Yeah.
that work with the weigh-ins, by the way? Because I don't know. You weigh in and
Yeah.
then you still have time to get your carbs and do all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, so the weigh-ins were Friday, and I didn't compete till Sunday, so I had the whole of
Oh,
Saturday to
nice.
carb up and all of that. And we actually didn't quite do a rapid backload because we were so depleted that Cliff decided to start the rapid backload on the Friday. So it's like we're already getting carbs in early, and in the end, on the Saturday before the show, I can't remember the exact figure, but it was like 1,200 grams of carbs. So
Wow.
it was a heck of a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. That is a lot. You know, I think back and I looking at that middleweight class, it's a ridiculous class at the moment, no? Like imagine if
With
Benjamin
Babacar.
Schuster, Babacar, imagine if Benjamin Schuster and Ibsen also came back on the scene that year. It's so ridiculous at that point. Like who's winning that? Okay, yeah, Babacar, but then Oscar now it's kind of nuts that class altogether. But with the lightweight, it's still like look what happened with Dirk this year. Like it's almost like anybody's title at the moment, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know how I would have fared in that middle class. I haven't actually looked at it much. It was a much smaller class. I know that much.
Oh,
We
it
had
was.
16 in our
Ah,
class. So I don't know
okay.
how many they had, but it was maybe half, somewhere around that.
Yeah.
And that's one of
Yeah.
the things that didn't play in my favor with there being 16 is I came out and I was on like right on the outside of the stage. So you're
Mm.
not well lit. And then they drew like the first call outs, but the majority of those came from dead center, well lit, and it was kind of like I just never really got I felt like looked at properly. I never got moved anywhere near the center. I was only ever moved from like right on the outside that stage
Yeah.
to right out the other side of the outside of the stage. And I don't know if you've seen lighting and kind of footage from it. It wasn't the best. Didn't
Really?
highlight
That's
condition very
unfortunate.
well. So yeah, there was just a few things. I mean, I was never going to be placing top five anywhere close. I don't even think I deserve probably to be in the first kind of half of the class. But there's definitely some people I look at from the photos and having spoken to people. Maybe I could have been a few places higher, but I get it. When there's 16 in a class, I've judged multiple times. It's hard to judge such a big class super duper well. You're focused
Yeah.
on like the top five. You got to get those right no matter what. The rest
Yeah.
matter less. They just do. So
Interesting
I get
take.
it.
I didn't know that. You've judged a few shows so far. That's pretty cool. Like which ones? Just for the listeners too that don't know.
Yeah. So I actually don't know how it might be 5 times I've judged now. So I actually
WNBF,
got to
by the
judge
way?
last year. Yeah, WNBF.
Oh,
So the
cool.
WNBF UK, we had first timers and then like our supernaturals, which is like our open finals type of thing. So
Yeah.
I've been able to do it quite a few times now and learned loads in the process. It's definitely made me a better coach and competitor. But now I get it from their perspective. To judge 16 people well, you almost need that to be two separate classes, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's real tough.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've judged a few shows and you learned a lot and they're most all WNBF by the way, right?
All WNBF, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Really cool. Yeah, that's how did you get into that by the way? Maybe I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so there was Andrew Chappell and Steph Noble at the time, both WNBF pros, took over the WNBF UK. So they were new in 2021. No, what year? I can't remember what year they were new. Anyway, I can't remember what year, but it was around that sort of the 2020s, around that time. They're basically starting from scratch and they needed people that they thought could be good judges. And they
Okay.
reached out to me because of the kind of wealth of experience I've got on stage, where I am in the industry. I keep an eye on things. I've been to many, many shows and I've taken clients to stage. So I have a good understanding, especially for bodybuilding, specifically that category, what a good bodybuilder should be and should look like. And they just thought I would be a good candidate as a judge. They have judging training, so they take us through that, which was really great, to be
That's
honest. I don't know
cool.
if
Yeah.
every federation does that. Basically, it's a bit of a test. So you judge the first few times, they are looking at what your scores are compared to the rest of the judges. And if they're too out of line, they'll either have a chat with you and kind of discuss how could you improve it, or they might even say, hey, it doesn't look like you're cut out for judging
Oh,
because
wow.
you're
Okay.
so off the mark. It's just
Yeah.
not good. So it was quite stressful the first two times, actually very stressful the first two times judging, because I was just, man, you got to make decisions snappy as a judge because you got huge classes to go through and a wealth of people. So that was like a big learning, and that gave me a lot of respect for what the judges are looking for, what they have to do. And then ever since then, yeah, I've been able and lucky enough to continue. I passed the tests. And so I
Nice.
feel very confident in my ability to judge now. It's much less stressful. I can look at classes much quicker and pull out who I think the winner is much more readily. But yeah, it's great having that perspective. Like it's almost I've been on stage a lot. Now it's different judging the people on the stage and knowing I've been everywhere. I've been the winner, I've been the loser, I've been like not in the first call out, like everywhere. So I know how people are feeling up there. And it's kind of a bit of a weird experience looking at them from the judges' table, being like, and how you feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. Well, on that note, with WNBF World, just to circle back, what was your placing?
I came so 15th out of 16.
Hey, it wasn't 16 at least. That's
I
pretty,
know.
there's
I was
Hey, how
happy.
about that one,
I
right?
would have been that would have been absolutely gutting if I'd come last. I say this, it's I've not come from going and winning shows.
Right.
I've only won now two shows ever. Like I won a qualifier for the UK FBA and went to finals, and then I won the WNBF Netherlands and I got my pro card, came second in the overall. I'm very used to not winning, so it's like
Sure.
water off a duck's back in a sense. In some ways, I'm like, maybe I could have had more fun staying as an amateur and trying to win more shows before getting it. But I can see how some people, if they just win their first show, go pro, and now they're right in the deep end, and they're like, oh, so I just win now. It's like, no, no, no. Now you're on hard mode.
Yeah.
Everyone upstate, like the guy that came 16th, he's a pro. He's really freaking good bodybuilder. Everyone on that stage is there's 16 incredible people. So yeah, I mean, there's small differences between one another. Whereas in the amateur ranks, normally it's a bit clearer about they're of a standard, they're top five, they're top three, and these people need a bit more time or they could have come in a bit leaner. Whereas when
Yeah.
you're a pro, everyone on that stage is winning amateur shows. So it's like they're
Right.
all very good. For example, at the Swiss show that I did, I don't know if you saw it, but Babacar was there. So I've competed on stage against
Oh,
Babacar.
wow. I didn't see
uh,
that. I missed that. I missed that one. So give us a
yeah,
recap.
Yeah, so after the Netherlands show, I needed to do a pro show to qualify for Worlds because at the start of the season, my goal was just to go and compete at Worlds. Not as a pro, it was just to get to Worlds, just qualify
Yeah.
as an amateur for Worlds. So that Netherlands show that was done a bit last minute off the cuff changed the entire landscape of the rest of the season for me in terms of only winners going to WNBF Worlds. And it was an open pro class. So there was Babacar won it, Ramon came second, and third was I can't remember what nationality he was, but he was a very good lightweight pro. And then oh no, third was actually the heavyweight that went pro, Hank the Tank on
Hank the
Instagram.
Tank. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah.
Unbelievably huge. I should send you the YouTube video because I have footage from that show. I came last in that.
Send me the footage.
Ramon did I think he came, I can't remember where he came in the heavies at Worlds, maybe second. So it's like, imagine if
Oh,
Ramon couldn't
wow.
go to Worlds because he didn't win that. Obviously, he could go to another pro show and win, but it's
Sure.
just an example of kind of depends who turns up, kind of one of those.
Yeah. But I was gonna ask you this, Steve. With that show specifically in WNBF Netherlands, you won your pro card, but you've yet to win a pro show, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. Gotcha. This is a pro show that you're competing in at that point. So
Yeah.
we're talking about you're competing against an overall three-time WNBF overall world champion. It's like, did you feel like that was a really good way to segue into Worlds that year, 2024?
I don't know if it was a
No.
good way. It was
Oh,
certainly
okay.
brutal. It was like the most
Yeah.
brutal way you could do it, going up against guys who have won some of the biggest shows across the globe. I think only me and the I've forgotten his name because he's Italian, I believe. But me and the guy that came second last, we didn't place at Worlds. But
Okay.
everyone else in that lineup placed in the top 5 at Worlds. So it
Oh,
was a very competitive lineup
yeah.
to put it in that
Yeah.
way.
Let's talk about this. What are your goals now that you're transitioned into the off season? So you did the thing, 2024 season's done. Now we're in the off season mode. I'm assuming you're pretty much recovered at this point. Maybe how are you feeling, by the way?
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, like 2.5 months since stepping off stage. And if we say 170 is like my true, I'm 10 pounds above basically my stage weight at Worlds. But that was a bit of a light weight. So I'm not actually
Right.
that heavy at the moment. I'm
Mid
177 pounds,
yeah.
178 pounds. So
Okay.
still really lean for me. But over the last couple of weeks, my hunger, which was the thing, and food focus, which was nagging me. My sleep was in a really good place, training really good place, energy really good, but my hunger and food focus was still there. That's gone. So that's really, really nice. I will say my libido is the thing that is definitely not where it got to in my
Mm.
previous off season, but that's something I understand it can take a bit longer, and I'm not surprised.